As business owners, we are always trying to gain that competitive edge. Could those tools be right at our fingertips? It's demo day today on Expert Connections. Demo day on Expert Connections. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Julie Holton. You know, I'm a little on the fence about today's demo because we're going to be talking about how to use it in a way that could put some people out of business, or could it? Dave and I are going to debate it. Join me in welcoming Amplify Labs AI CEO Dave Smith to the show. Dave, welcome.
Hey, Julie, great to be here.
Dave, let's dive right in, because today you're going to be showing us another way to use ChatGPT, which is a tool that we really like to demo on the show.
I think we like showing ChatGPT because it's the most useful tool. It costs $20 a month and it does so much. The tools that I'm going to show today cost $30 a month, $20 for ChatGPT, $10 for Midjourney, and it's going to save me more than $30 yesterday. As business owners, we can't do everything, right? And you and I have a new business, Amplify Labs AI, and we want to get the word out about that. So one of the things that we're doing to spread awareness in the community is hosting a monthly meetup on Thursdays. And I'm good at the tech stuff. I'm not good at the marketing stuff. And
I admit I am good at the marketing stuff, but when you're already running a business and have a life, have a family, have a child, there's only so much time in the day. And so really Amplify Labs AI, consider it just like your bootstrap startup where you're wanting to start at the basics, not spend money where you don't need to, right? So marketing is one of those areas. And I'm not always available to help you with the marketing.
Exactly. And I've known that it should get done for about a month. People keep asking, hey, tell us about this thing so we can share it with our group, And I haven't done it. So, yesterday about 5 o'clock, I'm feeling behind. And so I'm thinking, I can outsource it. I can do it myself, blah, blah, blah. But it's all going to take time. The easiest, best way is to just use ChatGPT. And Julie, I could not believe it. I looked at the end of this to see how long it took me. The whole process, I think, took me 45 minutes, maybe an hour. It would have taken me that long, just to work with somebody else. Unbelievable what we're going to show today. And what we'll show is using ChatGPT-4 to create a flyer for an event. How many business owners have had to do that and have to weigh the tough choice between having somebody else do it or doing it themselves in PowerPoint or Canva or something like that, and having it take hours and not being in love with the end result. I think a lot of business owners had to do that. I've had to do that. And so let's see what ChatGPT brings to the scene. So I just start off, you talk to ChatGPT just like you talk to a person. I wanted to have a catchy slogan for the AI meetup. So I just asked ChatGPT, how do I figure out some catchy slogans for the AI meetup? What are some processes and frameworks I can use to get a slogan and put it on a graphic to invite people?
Okay, Dave, pause right here, because I have to point out that already I like the prompt, the questions you've asked, the prompts that you've used, because most of us would maybe go to ChatGPT and immediately type in, what are some catchy AI slogans? And we type in information about, I think that's what I would have probably done. But what you have first done is you have set ChatGPT up to start teaching you how to come up with that slogan, and maybe even in fact gaining some insight into how ChatGPT, if you ask it to, how it will come up with the slogans for you. So immediately just want to point out this prompt here that you've used, because yes, you can just type in there, what are some catchy AI slogans? And without enough context or information, it's going to crank out some outputs that may or may not fit what you're looking for.
That's exactly right, Julie. And I've been using this more and more. So I'm doing two things here. Like you said, I'm treating it like a consultant, saying, hey, what are some things I should be thinking about? And because I didn't have something in specific in mind. Different example, the other day I said, use the NVC communication process to write a response to this. So, in that case, I knew a specific framework I wanted to use. But, in this case, I didn't. I'm like, I don't know anything about slogans. So why doesn't it just come up with some?
And I think this is a really important thing to point out, because as someone who generates a lot of original content, not using AI, but original content that actually then either my agency owns the copyrights for, or the clients we're producing it for, they own the copyrights. There's a lot of talent, a lot of skill that goes into coming up with copy. And so if you're using a tool like ChatGPT, you need to know you still need to know what goes into creating that content. And if you don't know, you still need to learn through ChatGPT. So, okay, Dave, so go ahead. So you put this prompt in.
Yep. So it said, here are some steps. It wanted to understand the target audience, brainstorm keywords, frameworks or models, collaboration, get feedback, iterate and refine, create a graphic, incorporate the slogan into the invitation. So I feel like I missed the mark here, and actually looking back on it, where I don't think I did a good job of defining the target audience. I keep saying it's for everybody, but I think really, our target audience is probably, kind of business owners with maybe 10 or less employees. But anyways, I didn't put that in here. So, fail on my part. ChatGPT is only going to be as good as you use it. And so I talked about the problem that I think a lot of people have, where they've heard of ChatGPT or AI, but they don't know how to get started. And the goal is to help people get started, or if they're stuck, help them get unstuck. And so I just told that to ChatGPT, and then it moved on to the next step. So it talked about defining the essence, brainstorming key phrases, crafting slogans, creating the graphic, incorporating it into the communication channels, monitoring feedback, and content ideas. So then I said, hey, that all sounds good. And I just said, brainstorm more key phrases and slogans.
So, Dave, I want to point out again, so far you have, up until the next prompt that we're going to get into, you have been using ChatGPT as a tool, essentially as a person sitting next to you in the office, perhaps a marketing consultant, someone from M Connections marketing agency, where you're saying, okay, if I'm going to come up with this slogan myself, how would I go about doing it? And so far, ChatGPT has outlined the process and explained the process to you. Now it looks like you're going to take number 2. So maybe you feel comfortable with number 1. You've defined the essence. You understand the point of what it is that you're marketing, but you're not sure about those key phrases. So now you've input this prompt to have ChatGPT help you brainstorm those key phrases. So again, so far you're using this as a tool, which I think is a really good point. I don't want to get too far off track because we're focusing on business owners, but I was just having a conversation yesterday with our Legal Connections law firm, Foster Swift, and we were talking about plagiarism. And with back to school right around the corner for college students and high school students, you don't want to go to ChatGPT and say, hey, write my whole research paper for me, and then put your name on it and put it out there as if it's yours. We'll get into that in a Legal Connections segment. You can hop over to that playlist to learn more about that. But in the meantime, you are demonstrating to those college students, to our business owners in the audience, how to use ChatGPT as a tool, as an assistant, as a researcher for you. Okay, so your next prompt is to brainstorm key phrases.
Yeah, and you're right on, Julie. Like I didn't love these, and so the way I like to use ChatGPT, because a person would get really annoyed by this, but ChatGPT, you can just say, generate a bunch of stuff, and then kind of, almost like sifting through the dirt for gold. I find the things and pieces that I like. So I had these phrases, these slogans. I tried an interesting thing here too, where I posted these slogans on LinkedIn just to see what people thought, to kind of involve them in the process. And then I read through all that, and I talked to ChatGPT about this particular slogan that grabbed my attention, and I said why, because it invites those who are new. And I asked her, what are the pros and cons, and offer alternate suggestions. So then it talked to me about, what's good about this slogan, the cons, and then it had alternate suggestions. And then based on that, I said, I'm leaning towards this one. Compare it to the previous one. So then it, just did exactly that, which I think is pretty nice. And then during this process, I created an image. But to create the image, I used AI. So again, ChatGPT, I used that, and I pasted in this prompt. And it's a lot of gobbledygook, but essentially, it just kicks out these text prompts like we've been seeing. And then I had to make 10 more. And then I used a different tool that I'll show called Midjourney. And I just copy those prompts in and paste them in here. And then I can look through the results. And you can see in here, I like some of these images, but the text, it's not very good at text, as you can see there. So, that's something that these AIs, even though they're going to take over the world and stuff, they still haven't figured out how to do text. But, I just copy and paste like a madman, copy, paste. And then, a couple minutes later, it's got all these images generated for me to look through. And then after looking through those, I picked this one that I liked the most and decided to use that as the base of an image. And I think there was a different episode where we showed Midjourney.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you can click down below to head over to that episode if you want to learn more about what Dave's talking about here with Midjourney and how to use ChatGPT to create prompts for Midjourney. Just go ahead and click over to that episode.
And so we won't go into that too much in detail, but pretty much the idea here is just, using ChatGPT to generate prompts to then generate an image, instead of hiring a graphic designer and going through that whole process. Or what I would have done without ChatGPT is I probably went to like Pixabay or a stock screen. What are those places called, Julie?
Yeah, any of those royalty-free image generators.
But
Canva has a bunch, and if you have a Canva Pro account, you can access, what feels like an unlimited amount. But as you're talking about, Dave, as you're describing, you wanted something that looks like the AI meetup, which this, in fact, eerily similar, other than children standing around. This looks very similar to the AI meetups that you've been hosting once a month. And so you've been able to create a customized image specific to the content that you are using ChatGPT to create.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And the key for me, was this was fast. It was faster for me to do this than it would have been for me to look through a bunch of stock images and been like, oh, I don't like, oh.
So how long did the image part take you?
We can see timestamps on here. So let's see. When did I start doing it? Started at 420. Let's see, 427. Where did I start? 422 was the first image I generated. And then before I got it to something that I liked, it was 444. So it took 22 minutes. But, a lot of that time I was doing, I was over here in ChatGPT. So, the actual time I was probably typing in, copying and pasting was probably like 3 minutes. And the computer did the work.
Well, and I can tell you, as a graphic designer myself, and with plenty of graphic designers on my team, sometimes an entire project can get stopped by, whether it's a website project, a flyer like you're creating here, anything involving graphic design, an entire project can get stopped because you can't find the right image or an image that the client is looking for. Sometimes we have this idea in our head. I don't know if this happens to you, Dave. You get this image, this idea in your head of what you're looking for, but then it doesn't seem to exist anywhere that you're looking for it. Midjourney gives you a way to, the better you get at those prompts, Midjourney, is paving the way to be able to create that idea that's in your head.
That's exactly right, Julie. Usually, in the before process, I would have an image in my head and then I'd get frustrated because on the stock photography, I can't find it. So then I would just have to settle for something. It's interesting that you mentioned that because I'd forgotten that was my process before. Now I don't even think I have something in my head. I think I just let, ChatGPT guide the way. And it's so fast that I don't even think I have time to think oh, what do I want this image to look like? And again, it went through so many images, I don't know, it generated probably 40 images, in span of 10 minutes for me to look through. And then I think it's, again, so much easier to sift through and to tweak, so much easier to say no, that's not what I'm thinking at all than it is to actually think of, what am I thinking? I haven't, to your point, I haven't been super specific with the images that I'm looking for the most part. Maybe that's not true. I think it's true though. And so I haven't, had that disappointing feeling or also true trying to craft something. Cause I could see that could be frustrating. If I wanted a specific image and Midjourney wasn't giving it to me, I could see that could be frustrating, but I'm not an expert there.
Well, and it's been fascinating in our AI meetup group, Lansing's first AI meetup group, that in Lansing, Michigan, that we have some users in there who have really become skilled in creating images. In fact, our speaker for Thursday, August 24th, Ken Overway, is going to be showing, well, he's actually going to be showing some text to speak, some voice applications, but he also has been in the Discord group showing these images and showing the prompts. And so I think this is also, a great time, people watching, to get involved, join the Discord group, come to the AI meetups if you're local. If you're not local, join the Discord group and join the conversation. Join the conversation here on YouTube and let us know, how are you using ChatGPT? How are you using Midjourney? Have you come across any tips and tricks that we should be, learning ourselves or sharing with our audience? Because it really is fascinating. Dave, last month, as we were sharing, hearing how other people like, oh, okay, now you can tweak it just slightly like this, or you can, remix your prompt there, as you were just showing. It's actually been really, it's like every time we learn so many new things.
Yeah, well, to your point, Julie, let's I just can't help myself. Let's try this and see if we can get a more diverse crowd there. You said these look like all children. Make the crowd more diverse in terms of age, occupation, and race. And let's, who knows what'll happen? You never knows what AI is going to do, but we'll see. Probably take a minute or so for that to come through. And while that's working, this is just like real life. So, while that's working, I don't even pay attention to it. It's pretty fast. It'll probably be there in a minute. But in real life, I would just go, right back over here and, continue working while AI does the hard work and cranks on that. So getting back to our prompt, I said I've got an image. What should I put on it so people can view the image and it has all the details for them to make it to the meetup? So then it said, slogan, date, time, location, description, registration details, contact information, social media hashtags, blah, 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 blah. And I love this, Julie. This was great. This is for me. Example layout, top section, mid section, bottom section. And actually I need to, I don't know why I don't have it, but I should show the
and I love those design tips too, Dave, that were right underneath that section you just showed, because oh my gosh, like if you're not a designer, then you know how hard it is. Something, that your graphic doesn't look right, but you can't figure out what needs to change. I think those design tips are really key. I can't tell you how often clients will come to us and say, well, we tried to work on it ourselves first, or we had an intern work on it ourselves first. And maybe they were even working in Canva, which provides templates. And we often say, well, sometimes it doesn't hurt to just use the template. But in this case, those design tips could be really key. Okay, so here, is this your end result?
This is the end result. Yeah. So I think it was, we started at 4:30 and I think I was done by like 5:15. So 45 minutes, soup to nuts. I'm sure it's not the best graphic anybody has ever seen in the world, but it's also, not the worst. And, it's got all the key details on it. And so I can just, send this off to somebody and they've got everything they need to forward this to a friend.
Absolutely. And again, as we're talking about businesses that maybe don't have the capacity to outsource, or they're looking for something that is bootstrapped, something that's not currently making money, they're not ready yet to invest in the marketing of it, your next best tool right now is to be able to use ChatGPT and Midjourney, Canva, other AI platforms to be able to create what you need.
And Julie, here's the the results of our make it more diverse. So it did get very creative. I think it changed the image a lot here. So that was kind of annoying. It lost the whole AI feel. But maybe somebody else can use Midjourney better.
Well, and it did do what you asked. So we ended up with a diverse crowd. Wow, Dave, this is always really fun. I enjoy demo day. What do you have next for us?
Julie, hold on.
All right.
So, I listen to podcasts all the time. So I hear this this podcast I'm listening to, and this company just blew up. I think they're doing like $1 million in sales on the the late night things where they sell you stuff. But the $1 million in sales, it's not nearly cutting it. So these guys are like, we need to switch this up, and they've got a framework that ties into people's need, greed, and vanity. And I was like, oh, what do slogans look like that tie into that? So what did I do? So this morning I pop into my chat and I just plug that in. What slogans tie into need, greed, and vanity? Boom, boom, boom. Here's a bunch of them. I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even think about those. Which ones will be most effective for my meetup? Blah, 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 blah. What's the best way to proceed? Craft 20 more slogans. So now, I've got this whole other thing to play with. And, again, this just took, just a few minutes. So, really amazing to be able to, hear something and say, what does that look like in, in AI land versus, if that's a consultant. Well, I think I was doing this at 6 a.m. Like, does someone get a call from me at 6 a.m. to hear about some, harebrained thing I just heard about?
I love it, Dave. That's awesome. So we'll look for those slogans coming next time from you, creating that need to be there, that need, greed, and vanity. That's actually pretty funny. I appreciate that framework. So there you have it. And I'm looking at your graphic here. Again, plugging this event that you're putting on August 24th at starting at 5 p.m. The first hour is for all AI users. Focused a lot on kind of that business leader, business, and anyone in business, but also any individual who wants to learn how to use ChatGPT. It doesn't matter what what you're using it for. You might be using it to create recipes or travel plans, or you just want to learn more about it. Or on the business side, you want to learn how to effectively be using ChatGPT, how to counsel your employees on how to use it and when not to use it, and perhaps setting up those guidelines. So that's the first hour. The second half, from 6 to 7:30, again, will be focused on the tech users. So Ken will be joining Dave for a presentation talking about text to voice applications. So we'll get to see some of the voice training that Ken has been working on. If you're working on a cool project and want to be on the show to show us, we love a good demo. So just reach out and connect below. Dave, as always, thanks so much for being on the show. One of my favorites is being able to dive in and see a demo and not just have people stare at us talking the whole time. So as always, I appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks, Julie.
That is all for this episode of Expert Connections. Be sure to subscribe and comment and let us know what you want to see. We have a host of other playlists for you to check out: legal connections, marketing connections, community connections, and more. Again, be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.